Is your head shaped like an egg? Yeah, exactly. But what kind of helmet is actually going to fit it? It's a great question because I had the same exact question. Hello everyone, Ron here with Southwest Colorado Adventures, and I just got a new helmet that I rode about 3 hours on a couple of weeks back, and I just wanted to go over it with some of the feedback that I had, so hang in there till the end after I get through the specs of the helmet, and then I'll just kind of let you know what my thoughts were as a result of riding with it for 3 hours, and what adjustment I had to make as well. Now, there is no shortage of dual sport or ADV helmets on the market. They're all over the place. You can get them from $60 up to $750 or more. It's amazing. And the vast majority of them are intermediate oval. In case you don't know, there's 3 basic different shapes of helmets out there. One of them is round, which is basically what it sounds like. If your head is basically round, theoretically that helmet's going to fit you. Now, intermediate oval is if your head is slightly longer on the sides, front to back, than it is across the front of your forehead. That's what the majority of the helmets are out there. There's a third type. For us egghead type people, and I don't mean conehead, like, with it poking straight up. That's Saturday Night Live from the 70s. What I'm talking about is an egghead that's more laid down. So front to back is substantially longer than it is side to side, which happens to be what my head is. Now, the interesting thing is, I read review after review for every kind of helmet you could think of out there. Some of the feedback that I read was, this helmet fits great for a long oval head. I'm so glad I found it. The same helmet would have somebody else review it and say it fit perfectly with my intermediate oval. And another person, it fit perfect with my round head. Now, what in the world? How does that even make sense? Now, another thing that I was taking into consideration is I wanted a helmet that whenever I spoke inside it and I was videoing, because that's what I do, and I do a lot of it on the motorcycle, I wanted people to be able to actually understand what I was saying. The helmet being quiet is something that I was looking for. When I went in to read the reviews for, is it quiet or not? I found the same thing. This is the super quiet helmet. I love it. And then the next person would say, this helmet was loud. I couldn't handle it. It was driving me crazy. So I'm thinking to myself, how can there be such a discrepancy between the different helmets that are going out to these people? And what I realized is there's probably not much of a discrepancy. In fact, the helmets are probably almost identical. The difference is, what did that person that made that review wear right before they wrote that review? So yeah, every single one of those reviews, in my opinion, in my review, I guess, is that they're relative. They only know how this helmet fits compared to the one that they just came from. Or they know how quiet this helmet is compared to the one they just came from. Now, we're talking about ADV helmets, generally speaking. They're a little bit louder than just a plain old street helmet. Modular helmets are even more loud. There's more seams, more space for air to get in. It makes sense. So it really just depends on the relative perspective of these people as to whether or not you're going to get a review that even makes sense, much less one that you can actually depend on. Now, whenever I looked at the Shoei Hornet X2, I read the same reviews, and it said it does fit for long oval. Now, the ironic thing is, if you look at the chart, it's an intermediate oval. So I'm thinking, here we go again. The last thing I wanted to do was to get a helmet, get all excited about it, and wait for it to arrive in the mail, put it on, have it not fit, and me have to ship it back. I don't know about you all, but when I have to send something back that I ordered online, I'm not a happy camper. In fact, I often don't do it. In fact, I think manufacturers kind of depend on that. But this helmet, if it didn't fit, I was going to send that sucker back. There's no doubt about it. It was an expensive enough purchase that I was going to do that. If you end up getting any value from this video, please slap a like on it, consider subscribing. There's a lot more where this came from. So before we get into what my thoughts are about the helmet, I'm just going to run through some of the features of this helmet. It is the Shoei Hornet X2, okay? It is intermediate oval. So here's some of the features of it. This is not an inexpensive helmet. This one was $649. I got it from Cycle Gear. I'm going to throw the link down if you want to take a look at it and do some investigation yourself. This is the matte black finish, otherwise known as the bargain basement version of this helmet. Okay, so it was $648, $649, something like that. If you like the ones with all the fancy paint, then those are going to run you about $750. Now, these are handmade in Japan, which is pretty amazing. There's not that many things that are handmade anymore, just off the bat. That does help explain why it costs so much. Now, the outer shell is AIM Plus multi-fiber. Not really sure what all of that is, except that they probably take multiple different kinds of materials to make the outside, to make it safe. Now, it is DOT certified and SNELL certified. Not very many helmets are SNELL certified, so it is a safe helmet. In fact, I've never run across anybody that says Shoei helmets are not high quality, safe helmets. This model has 4 different shell sizes. So whether you get small, medium, large, or extra large, you're going to get your own unique shell size. The cool thing about that is, since each shell size is unique to those sizes for the first 4, you're not going to have a lot of additional helmet padding and different stuff on the inside to make up for, say, the small and the medium are the same. Well, they're going to make the shell for a medium and they're going to put more stuff on the inside, and you're going to look more like a bobblehead than everybody already does wearing a helmet. So I like the fact that it had a custom size outer shell that matches the insides. The visor on this is clear. That's what I got. It's what it came with. It's optically correct, and for those of us with progressives, we don't need anything additional to distort our vision because the progressives do a pretty good job of that themselves. But this visor has 7 positions that it locks up and down. It does lock well into position, and you can lock it, heck, right near the bottom and let in just a little bit. If you snap it down all the way, you can hear that it is snapped. It's almost like a vault door shutting, but not exactly. The other cool thing about it, and I'm not going to do it, I saw somebody doing a review that, man, they just took this off lickety-split, but this thing, with a push of a button, you can pull this off of both sides and take the visor completely off if you want to use goggles. I haven't actually ridden with goggles yet, but this summer, my plan is to try them out. So I'm pretty excited about that feature as well. And then, theoretically, it just snaps right back into position. There we go. Got to angle it a little bit. So the visor also comes with the pen lock already set up. The pen lock does come with this, which it's normally about $40, $60 additional if it doesn't come with the helmet. So that is a value that's built into the overall cost of this helmet. In fact, now's as good a time as any to talk about what it comes with. Here's the pen lock that I forgot to use whenever I went and rode out in Utah, and I probably could have used it. There was some fogging going on whenever I was going at slower speeds. I just had to keep the visor opened up, and it worked fine. But I really wanted to try this out and totally forgot it. So anyway, it comes with that. It comes with a vent shield for the back. We'll cover more vents here in a minute. It comes with a chinned wind guard, which would have added even more quiet to the helmet, I'm sure, if I would have used that, but I didn't realize. It was like on the bottom. By the way, if you buy one of these, make sure you pull all of the cardboard out, because taped to the very bottom was this, the owner's manual, and some silicone oil. So all that was taped down at the very bottom. So make sure you pull out all the packaging and don't just pitch the box once you get the pen lock and the helmet out. So outside of the visor, which will come off with no tools, this has got a little twist screw right there that you can take off with your thumb as well if you want to take this big bird beak off. Shoei does do a lot of wind tunnel testing, so I didn't notice personally that there was any drag at all on it. Again, I wasn't going at highway speeds, so I don't have the benefit of knowing exactly how this is going to work at speed. And I also don't know how quiet it's going to be at speed, because I got up to maybe 50 was probably the max that I went up to at this last ride. So in case you're wondering, it doesn't plug in anything. This is my lavalier mic. That doesn't come with it. Mic not included. But I didn't feel like unraveling it from all the places that I had it stashed. The inside has 3D max dry system, and it's shaped to match the rider's head for comfort. The cheek pads come in multiple sizes, which is a good thing. These are all removable. And the good news is this has an EQRS as well. You know what that is? I didn't either. These little tabs right here are the emergency quick response system, so that they can remove if you get in a wreck and a paramedic or somebody comes over, they can just pull these guys out without causing any additional damage to your neck if that's where the injury is, for example. So it's a safety feature. So we got front vent. We've got right up inside here, we've got brow vents back and forth. And then we've also got a vent right up inside here that supposedly just snaps off. Oh, and it does. Look at that. I'm always afraid I'm going to break things. So let's give you a visual of what that looks like. So this is the vent on the top. Again, they make it in a wind tunnel, so they know where the air is going. And it's got a little scoop to direct that stuff down to you. It's got vent ports back here, and then it also has air vents back here at the neck. I could pull it apart and show you where they all come out on the inside. There's videos, I'm sure, on that if you really, really want to know that information. So again, nobody's ever said anything about the quality and the safety of a Shoei helmet. Who knows? Maybe they're all selling them. I don't know. Let me give you some of my thoughts on this helmet. Did it fit? Well, yeah, it did. Ironically, this is what I was using prior. This was my street helmet that I didn't honestly use that much whenever I'd ride my Harley around. I had a little half helmet. Might have things changed that I wore most of the time when I was riding my Harley. This is a modular helmet, so much easier to get on. I love modular helmets, but I was going for quiet, so I didn't opt for one this time around. But this helmet is also a large. The interesting thing is when I put it on, and I've worn it maybe 30, 40 times over the 5 or 6 years that I've had it. I may have had it 10 years, I don't really know. But it doesn't fit nearly as well as the Shoei. Overall, it is much more bulbous than the Shoei. And it doesn't fit. It is an intermediate oval, and I do get hot spots on my forehead. When I take this off, I got a nice little dot. It looks like I fell asleep in class on my forearm. Anybody ever do that in school? I did that a lot. Anyway, the other helmet that I use, I didn't bring up from the garage, but I've got it's an off-road. It's not approved, but it's an off-road helmet. It's got the visor, and it's both of these. This and the other one that I ride with that I didn't bring up here, they're both bargain helmets. They're nothing special. They are not comparable in price or quality to the Shoei. But that one, whenever I wore it, once again, it's a large. I put that thing on and it's like ringing a bell. Whenever I ride around with that, the beak, man, it just pulls me back. And keep in mind, I'm on a Himalayan. I mean, it doesn't go that fast. I don't get up and go fast enough to where my head should be thrown back. But anyway, I'm going to blame that on the helmet. So the Shoei did fit, okay? It did fit front to back. Now, it is a snug fit. And honestly, when I was putting it on, I was thinking, I think this is going to be a little tight. But once I got it all the way on, the fit around my head was very consistent. There were no hot spots. The only hot spots there were right here around my cheeks. The cheek pads were a little snug. So the good news is that these cheek pads are removable. They come with 35 millimeter cheek pads. You can get them down as far as 31 millimeter, which is what I ended up buying. Now keep in mind, this is a new helmet still, and this material does break in and loosen up a little bit over time. So I may regret buying the 31s over time, but I've still got the 35s here if that does happen. But I like being able to close my mouth without chewing on my cheeks. And I don't think my cheeks are that fat, but I guess I was wrong. Anyway, it's nice to be able to do that. So the other question that I had was, is this helmet quiet? And relatively speaking, absolutely it was quiet. Now, I didn't try out a whole bunch of other helmets to see how quiet they are, but I can tell you whenever I edited the video and I was riding with this helmet as opposed to this helmet, you could definitely hear more noise on the inside. There is more wind noise on a modular helmet and a bargain basement helmet than I got in the Shoei. So in my opinion, I think that was a win. I'm pretty satisfied with it. Once again, I haven't gone on the highway yet, so we'll see exactly what the noise levels are on the highway at highway speeds. So the overall question is, would I actually recommend this helmet to someone who's looking for one? Let's say they've got a oblong head like mine, and they're looking for a good quality, safe, ADV dual sport helmet. Well, I have a question to answer that question with. If my mid-20s son decided he wanted an adventure motorcycle and he was coming up to me and asking for advice on which helmet he should get, I would tell him to get this one. He'd say, "That's expensive." And I'd say, "You're right, but you're worth it." So anyway, that's my opinion. Without a doubt, if it was my son asking me, I would recommend this helmet right here. In fact, I would help him buy it, if you know what I mean. So if you found any value in this little overview of the Shoei Hornet, I know there's a lot of reviews out there about this helmet. I don't feel like they really addressed the one question I had, though, which is, will it fit a long oval head? The answer is yes. I have got a long oval head. If you found any value from this information that I gave to you, slap a like on it, consider subscribing. If you haven't seen the ride that I took this one on for the very first time up in Utah, I'm going to link that up top here so you can take a look at that if you want to, if you're curious. Part 1, I actually did my normal processing on removing the background sound, and it was too quiet. People were saying, "I miss hearing the Himalayan." Well, so on part 2 of that, I didn't do the same. I adjusted it, and I did reduce background a little bit, but I wanted to keep the Himalayan, the motorcycle sound going in the background, so it didn't look like I was just floating through the desert and all the cool rock formations that were out there. But anyway, if you've got any questions for me, slap them in the comments section. I always answer. And I appreciate everybody watching. Thanks for taking the time out. We'll see you soon.